It turns out that my wife still takes money from my family, even though we have been divorced for 6 months, because of her unrealistic ambitions. Son, you're being unreasonable, my mom said, her voice unusually soft, as if that would make me change my mind. Unreasonable? I shot back. You're giving Linda money. She's not my wife anymore. She left me because I wasn't making enough, remember? Dad chimed in. She told us she's struggling. Do you expect us to let her go without basic necessities? I laughed bitterly. Basic necessities? Then explain the $3,000 purse she just bought. Is that a necessity too? Linda and I got married 6 years ago. In the beginning, we had this perfect rhythm. She was charming, ambitious, and supportive. Or at least, I thought she was. I worked full-time as a software developer, making a comfortable salary, and she worked part-time in marketing while trying to figure out her next big move. We weren't rich, but we had enough to live well. I thought we were happy. But little things started to change after we moved into our 2-bedroom house. At first, it was small stuff. Linda wanted nicer furniture, a better car, designer clothes, things I could afford, but they made me uneasy. I was raised to save for the future, not spend just because we could. I figured we'd compromise. The turning point came during our second wedding anniversary. I had saved up for months and surprised her with a weekend getaway at a beach resort. I thought she'd be thrilled, but when we got there, she barely smiled. This is it, she said, scrolling on her phone. Kara's boyfriend took her to Bora Bora for their anniversary. I laughed, thinking she was joking, but the look on her face told me she wasn't. I brushed it off and hoped it was just a bad weekend. But over the next year, Linda became more vocal about what she thought was missing. We need to upgrade the house. We should travel more. Why can't you aim higher? I worked hard to keep her happy. When she asked for a luxury car, I took on a few freelance gigs and made it happen. When she wanted a designer handbag, I used my bonus to get her one. But every time I thought we were good, she'd raise the bar. Then came the worst fight of our marriage. She had just come back from lunch with some friends, and as soon as she walked through the door, I could tell she was upset. They all live in these beautiful condos downtown, she said, tossing her purse on the couch. Meanwhile, I'm stuck here in this boring suburb. I stayed calm. Linda, we've talked about this. We can't afford to live downtown and save for the future at the same time. This is practical. Practical, she snapped. It's embarrassing. You're okay living like this because you don't care about status, but I do. That night, we slept in separate rooms for the first time. A few months later, she hit me with it. I want a divorce. I asked why, even though I already knew the answer. I need a partner who matches my ambition. You're a good guy, but we want different things. The divorce wasn't messy. She just wanted out. She didn't even fight me for the house. Within a week of moving out, she posted a picture on Instagram. New condo downtown, glass of champagne in hand. After the divorce, I tried to move on. I buried myself in work, went to the gym more often, and occasionally hung out with friends to distract myself. Things were starting to feel normal again. Until last week, when my parents asked me to come over for dinner, at tea first. It felt like any regular family dinner. My mom made lasagna, my dad poured the wine, and we chatted about my job and my cousin's upcoming wedding. But somewhere between the main course and dessert, my mom hesitated, fork in hand. We've been meaning to talk to you about something, she said. My stomach tightened. What is it? Well, she continued, Linda's been going through a hard time lately. Adjusting to life after the divorce hasn't been easy for her. I didn't like where this was going. Why are you telling me this? My dad sighed. We've been helping her out financially. I put my fork down. You're giving her money? She needs it, my mom said quickly. She's struggling to pay rent and cover basic expenses. We couldn't just sit back and do nothing. I felt like the air had been knocked out of me. Mom, she left me because I wasn't making enough money for her. Now you're supporting her. It's not like that, my mom said. She didn't leave you over money. She just had different goals. Goals that apparently require you to fund her lifestyle. I shot back. Do you even know what she's spending that money on? She said it's for rent and groceries. My dad added. I pulled out my phone and opened Linda's Instagram. Groceries, huh? Then how do you explain the designer handbags and the luxury spa days she's been posting about? They stared at the screen. Speechless, my mom finally broke the silence. Maybe she splurged a little, but that doesn't mean she's lying about struggling. Come on, Mom. Look at this. I scrolled through more of Linda's posts. One where she posed in front of her new luxury condo. Another of her holding champagne at a rooftop bar. This doesn't scream financial hardship to me. She was good to you for years, my mom said, her voice defensive. You can't expect us to turn our backs on her. She wasn't that good to me, I muttered. Why? Dad cleared his throat. Listen, son. Your mom and I know this is awkward for you, but Linda was family. We can't just cut her off. She stopped being family the day she walked out on me, I snapped. You're enabling her. She's not using that money for survival. She's using you to maintain her lifestyle. She's just lost right now, my mom argued. We're helping her get back on her feet. No, you're helping her chase unrealistic ambitions. She left because she thought I wasn't enough, and now you're rewarding her for it. I stood up, pushing my chair back. If you want to keep paying for her designer life, go ahead. But don't expect me to stick around and watch. Without waiting for a response, I grabbed my jacket and left. I didn't wait long to deal with the situation. That evening, after work, I drove straight to my parents' house and rang the doorbell like I was on a mission. My dad opened the door, surprised to see me again so soon. Can we talk? I asked, stepping past him before he could answer. My mom was already in the kitchen making tea. When she saw me, she hesitated, her hands still on the kettle. Did you eat dinner? I can heat something up. I'm not here to eat, I said, sitting at the table. I'm here because we need to settle this Linda thing once and for all. My mom sighed and sat down across from me. My dad joined her, folding his hands on the table like this was some kind of family meeting. Son, we understand you're upset, but no, you don't, I interrupted. If you understood, you wouldn't be doing this. I pulled out my phone and scrolled to Linda's Instagram page, then turned the screen toward them. Here, this is what you're funding. My mom took the phone and scrolled through the photos. Her lips tightened as she saw Linda posing at rooftop bars, luxury spas, and boutique stores. But instead of admitting I was right, she handed the phone back. She was probably trying to make herself feel better, she said weakly. Divorce isn't easy. She's thriving, I said, my voice rising. You think she's hurting? She's living her best life, and you're footing the bill. My dad cleared his throat. We're just giving her a little help to get back on her feet. She's not on the ground, I shot back. She's dancing on it in designer shoes. My mom reached for my hand, but I pulled away. I don't understand how you can keep defending her after what she did to me. Linda didn't cheat on you, my mom said. She just wanted a different lifestyle. It doesn't make her a bad person. She used me, I said, clenching my fists. She drained my bank account, and then left when I couldn't give her more. And now she's using you. How can you not see that? My dad exhaled through his nose. It's not that simple. Relationships end, son. It happens. But we can't just erase Linda from our lives. I laughed bitterly. You didn't just keep her in your lives, you promoted her. You made her feel like what she did was okay. Because we care about her, my mom said, her voice cracking. We care about you too, but we can't turn our backs on her. I stood up so fast that the chair scraped against the floor. Well, you've turned your backs on me. No, we haven't, my dad said firmly. We're trying to help both of you. By paying for her luxury lifestyle and ignoring how I feel about it? I shook my head. No, you made your choice. And if this keeps up, you're going to lose me too. I walked toward the door, ignoring my mom calling after me. As I grabbed the doorknob, my dad spoke up. Wait, he said, his voice softer this time. We'll think about what you've said. I didn't respond. I opened the door, walked out, and slammed it behind me. A few days later, I got a text from Linda. Seeing her name pop up on my phone felt like a punch to the gut. Linda. Hey, can we talk? I think we should clear the air. I didn't want to reply. I had nothing to say to her. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized this conversation needed to happen. If she was bold enough to ask for my parents' money after everything she'd done, she needed to hear me out. Dude, I texted her back. Where and when? We met at a cafe downtown. One of those hip places with overpriced coffee and minimalist decor. She was already there when I arrived, sipping a latte with oat milk, her nails freshly manicured and her hair styled like she had just stepped out of a salon. She looked like she hadn't skipped a beat since the divorce. I sat down across from her, not bothering to order anything. What do you want, Linda? She smiled awkwardly, stirring her latte. I know things between us didn't end well, but I heard from your parents that you're upset about them helping me. Helping you? I repeated, leaning forward. You don't need help. You're doing just fine. I am now, she admitted, setting her spoon down. But starting over wasn't easy. Your parents were kind enough to support me when I needed it. They're not supporting you. They're funding your dream lifestyle, I said. Do you even realize what you've put me through? You left me because you wanted more, and now you're using the people I love to get it. Her smile faded, and she crossed her arms defensively. I didn't ask them to take sides, and I didn't force them to help me. They offered. Because you played the victim, I said. You made them think you were struggling when you were out buying designer handbags. I wasn't playing the victim, she shot back. I told them the truth. Adjusting to being on my own was hard at first. I didn't know how to budget, and I made mistakes. Mistakes? I scoffed. You made choices, Linda. Expensive ones. And you let my parents clean up the mess. She sighed and looked down at her latte. You always do this. You make it sound like everything was my fault. Because it was, I said bluntly. I gave you everything I had, and when that wasn't enough, you left. And now, you're still taking from my family. I'm not taking, she said quietly. I'm just accepting their help. I leaned back, shaking my head. You knew exactly what you were doing, and you didn't care how it would affect me. She looked up at me, her eyes narrowing. You think I'm the bad guy, but you don't understand what it was like for me. I had dreams, and I didn't want to give them up just because we couldn't afford them. I laughed bitterly. So, instead of working for them, you found someone else to pay for them. She didn't respond right away. For a moment, I thought maybe she realized how selfish she sounded. But then she straightened up and gave me the same look she used to give me during our arguments. The one that said she wasn't about to back down. Your parents are adults, she said. If they want to help me, that's their decision. You can't control them, and you can't control me. I clenched my jaw, fighting the urge to say something I'd regret. You're right, Linda. I can't control them. But I can control whether or not I stay in their lives if they keep choosing you over me. She blinked, as if the thought hadn't occurred to her. You wouldn't do that. Try me, I said, standing up. This is the last time we'll ever have this conversation. If you have any decency left, you'll stop taking their money. If not, that's on you. But don't be surprised if one day, you don't hear from me or them anymore. I didn't give her a chance to respond. I walked out of the cafe and didn't look back 2 days after meeting Linda. My mom called, asking me to come over. She said they had thought about what I said, and they wanted to clear things up. I didn't have high hopes, but I went. When I got there, the mood was different. My dad was sitting in his usual spot on the couch, but his posture was tense, like he was bracing for an argument. My mom fidgeted with her hands, avoiding eye contact. They told me they had spoken to Linda. She agreed to stop taking monthly support, but only after they gave her one final payout to help her transition. My heart sank as soon as they said it. It wasn't a clean break. It was another excuse to send her money. My dad tried to explain that it was the last time, but I'd heard that before. I knew how this would play out. They weren't ready to let her go. No matter what I said, they still saw her as the woman who had once been part of the family. To them, helping her was the right thing to do. Even if it tore me apart, I told them they had made their choice. If they wanted to keep supporting Linda, they could, but I wouldn't stick around to watch. My mom cried, begging me to reconsider, but I'd had enough. They didn't see what I saw. A woman who had manipulated her way into their hearts and bank accounts. As I walked out the door, I heard my mom calling after me, but I didn't turn back. This time, I was done. A week passed, and I didn't hear from my parents. No texts, no calls. It felt strange, like something had shifted permanently. I wasn't sure if I was relieved or heartbroken. Part of me wanted them to reach out, to admit they were wrong and cut Linda off for good. But deep down, I knew they wouldn't. They loved her, even after everything. And that wasn't going to change overnight. I thought about the years I had spent trying to make Linda happy, bending over backward to give her the life she wanted. I thought about how I had ignored the red flags, hoping things would get better, only to be blindsided when she walked away. And now, even after the divorce, she was still finding ways to hurt me. This time by driving a wedge between me and the people who were supposed to be on my side. But as much as I wanted to cut them off completely, I couldn't make myself do it. They were still my parents. I hated what they had done, but I couldn't pretend they didn't matter to me. I didn't know how to fix things, though, or if I even could, so I'm stuck. My ex-wife is still living her dream, funded by the last bit of help my parents gave her, and I'm here wondering if I'm overreacting or if this is the price of standing up for myself. What would you do?